In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to back up our configuration the new way. So as of release 12.3.4, Cisco introduced a feature that's known as Archive. Now with this feature, it kind of provides the capability to automate the tasks of actually backing up our configs. And it gives a lot of other configuration options that you can use along with it as well. So to begin with, what I first want to do is I want to list the content within my working directory. And I just want you to take note of this file here that we created in a previous video. So this file, or this directory, is used to store our backup configuration. And inside of there, you're going to find one file. So if I list the content within there, we illustrated inside the old way of backing up our configs, how we could actually store a file. All right. So now what we're going to do to enable this feature is we're going to need to go into what is known as archive configuration mode. Inside of here, the first thing I want you to do is just to take a look at the options that you can use along with this command. You can see the two ways that you can automate your backups are shown down here. So you can do it on a specific time period, or you can do it every time you issue a save. Now the first thing that you're going to need to do before you actually enable either of those features is you're going to have to define a path. So we're going to do this over here by using the path command. Now what I want you to do next is just to issue kind of like your help over here so you can see what options are available with it. Now what I typically say is, this local one that we're going to enable, this one here is technically not for disaster recovery reasons, right? It's kind of like more like, we're hammering away inside the command line. We just want some sort of safety net in case we make some sort of kind of like configuration error and we want to compare our configs maybe to something we did in the past to help troubleshoot, something along those lines. Now if you were actually doing this for disaster recovery reasons, then we would use one of these other options down here where we would actually send these configs to a remote device. So now we're going to do this locally, so we are going to put it inside of Flash. Inside of there, we saw that directory called backup. Now over here, something that you can use with this feature are a couple of environment variables. These environment variables will automate your file names. So for example, over here, we could use a $H, and this would automatically populate the host name into the file name. Now we don't actually need this here because our configs are all from the same device, and we know what that device is. Something that's going to be more useful is we can actually include the timestamp into the file name instead. Alright, so now that we set the path, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to enable it so that we can actually have a backup file created every time we issue a save. So I'm going to issue the write memory command, and now we're going to actually test it out. So I'm going to go back to privilege exec mode, and I'm going to issue a save. So copy, run, and then start. Okay, so now I'm going to scroll through command history, and we can see inside of there, here's our file right here. And now we're going to illustrate it another way. So that's done every time we issue a save. And what I kind of relate that to is, I don't know if you're familiar with your system restore in Windows. Every time you had an update, a point-in-time snapshot of your configs was actually stored. So that in between updates, if you ran into any sort of a problem, you could actually revert the configuration back to that previous state. And we can think of that kind of like the same way here, right? So now, just because we've got this set up to kind of like, every time we issue a save, doesn't mean we still cannot do it manually. So we can do that using the archive config command. And we don't have to actually wait to save the configs in order to save a file. So now we'll just verify that, and we can see the file over here. So once again, this feature is really good. It's the new way of doing it. It kind of like automates that task of, the file names, make sure that they're, they're always the same, they're uniform, things like that. It's better.